Hey everyone, thank you for tuning in once again to the Iconist podcast. Like usual, I'm your host, or one of your hosts, Barry 3D for Deep Dark Delicious. Barry Carter, you know the name, you know the deal, you know the joke. It's been going on for so long. Appreciate you all tuning in. And if you want to see where I'm going to be at live or online, anything I do, go to barry3d.com. The link is down below. Click it, follow it, and you'll see where I'm going to be at. Check out all my social media. We're going to make this short because we got so much to go through today. On my side, as always, the man, the myth, the legend, the one who keeps the ladies dancing and the fellas staring. Just wondering how. The one and only, my cousin,
DJ Rob C. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Iconist podcast. The icon is the TV didn't freeze. You didn't freeze. I just didn't say the word. Sorry for that little slapping joke snort, because Barry just said that funny joke and I nearly died of laughter internally. And I just, hold it! I can't say the joke. I've said it too many times. I had to have a little water just to clear the palate right there. But ladies and gentlemen, this is another wonderful episode. As you can see, we have someone here. And the guest is, I'm not saying either. No.
We'll let the guest introduce himself. So today we are joined by one of these guys I ran across on the comedy circuit. Super nice guy, shared an interest, and he's on here to talk about today's topic. And a big round of applause. I know in your head silently. That's how we do it. For our guest, Rob Deleo. Is I got the last name right?
Deleo.
As we all know on the show, I am terrible with names. Rob, thank you so much for joining us on the Iconist podcast. How you doing today, brother?
Oh, thank you guys. I am very excited. Very
Woohoo!
excited. I'm a comic book nerd. I'm a wrestling nerd, and I love this stuff.
We live for this. Absolutely. So Rob, once again, thank you for coming on. Just a quick round table. So remember, you got to support the books that support the show, that support everything, right? So make sure to buy those comic books to keep those storylines going. We're going to keep bringing them to you. And if you go to Kitchener, you check out the comic book store, go to Wow Comics, tell Wes and the rest of the boys we said hi. And for our fans over in Montreal, head over to the South Shore, check out Check Swings and tell Trevor and the rest of the guys we said hi. Also, keep an eye out for Brandy Ford and her magazine that comes out every month. That's called The Writer and the Wit. That's Brandy Ford. The link is down. The link is down in the down below. And when I do comedy, sometimes I'm not solo. I'm doing comedy with my other brothers. But keep an eye out for A Touch of Gray Matter. That's myself, along with Zolf Ali and Dave Sokolowski. We go there, we doing comedy, we do it raising for funds for any kind of food bank, homeless shelters, anything along those lines. And then Dave does a lot of tremendous work with the Widow Sons, doing the exact same thing, all that fundraising to give back to the community. So keep your eyes out for that. That is a lot of fun. And last but not least, we got to thank the man that makes us look so pretty. So pretty much, if you have a product and you want to do something similar like this, and you don't know about how to do a template, a logo, or any of that stuff, you reach out to our boy. You tell him you heard about him on the Iconist podcast, and he'll give you a discount. Rod, who are we talking about?
I think we'll be talking about J Bird Digital Art.
J Bird Digital Art. Jason Reese, give him a shout. Let him know you heard about him here. He'll give you a discount. Can't go wrong. You care about your product. He cares about you. And for people wondering at home, hey, what am I doing? Barry, you do a lot of talking. You guys all do a lot of talking. I can do the same thing. You want to start a podcast? Check out podbean.com. Go to podbean.com. You can see the Iconist podcast, right? So iconist.podbean.com. Go there. You see all our catalog for everything. We've done over 100 episodes. And there they make it really easy. It's simple to follow that you too can start your own podcast and be up and going within minutes. So you just record the episode and then they do all the heavy lifting. And it's actually a decent price. So there you go. Sweet. Woo! That all being said, we're here with Rob. We've talked to Rob a couple of times. Rob's like, hey, man, want to be on the show? I'm like, cool. I'm like, what do you want to talk about, Rob? Rob, who did you want to talk about today? What sparks your interest? What's today's show?
I wanted to talk about The Last Ronin.
That's right. The Last Ronin. Now, not Ronin by Frank Miller. That's a different miniseries. That's dual. We like that one. But The Last Ronin is a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle's tale. It's kind of like Old Man Logan. It's what happens when certain heroes get to the end of their career. So if you read The Avengers, the end, Iron Man, the end of Iron Man, and where they kind of project what happens, what could be a possible future for them, same premise, right? So if you like Wolverine, the last Wolverine movie, Logan with Hugh Jackman, you will enjoy today's topic, The Last Ronin.
Yeah, very remnants of the old man Logan in it, right? You
Yeah.
definitely get the same vibes.
Absolutely, same vibes, and it brought back together the original team. It brought back the original team of Eastman and Lard to get back together, after so many years of not doing it together. They started this book way back, and here they are. And The Last Ronin came out in August of 2020, 5-issue miniseries, beautifully done. And you get the pick, you get the the current artist that's doing the run, and then the flashback sequences were done by the original art team, plotted by them. I love that aspect. But before I go on, people hear me talk all the time. Rob, what draws you to the Turtles? I know you're a Turtle fan. So first of all, what draws you to the Turtles, and how does this rate in storylines for you overall?
I'm born in the late 80s, right? So I'm a Turtles kid. I grew up on everything Turtles. I have 2 Ninja Turtles tattoos. I love the Ninja Turtles. Admittedly, I don't read the comics too often.
Right.
But when I heard about this story, that I do read comic books, but just not the Turtles. And when I heard about this book that's out, and you're like, oh, and like they're talking about how all the Turtles but one are dead, and I'm just like, oh, okay, like you say no more, like hook, line, and sinker, I am in. Like I'm buying this thing through and through.
Right.
As like I said, like huge fan of the Old Man Logan series, and I really enjoy those kind of stories, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, because it wraps things up for us.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So this is interesting. So this is an interesting perspective. So you don't generally read the Turtles comics, but this miniseries drew you in. So what were you hoping to get from this miniseries, or what did you want to find out about this miniseries?
I think, like you said, it's a little bit of a conclusion to it, right? Like, what could happen to these guys if in the future, right? Like, sure, they can stop crime 100 times in their current series, but like you said, what happens at the end, near the end, basically?
Right.
And you hear that a Shredder has taken over, and you're like, okay, well, like, how did he take over? And who is the last turtle that's surviving? Like, there's a lot of a lot of questions. Yeah,
a lot of questions. So, Rod, you read this miniseries too, right?
Yes, I did. And oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No. I was going to say you read the miniseries. So what was your takeaways? Well, not spoilers yet. Well, of course, it'll be spoilers.
Yeah. We'll get into that. No. Listen, I'm with Rob. I myself was more of the animated Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. That's how I got pulled in. I never really read the actual comics as much because I knew it was, even when they were created, going back and researching prior to this, before this whole episode, I just knew that when that came out, it was very different and dark versus the cartoon. They were like, oh, it's all light and hearted, and the comic books is very ninja. Very, very solid. And I love this particular series because it just shows you the balance. Now you get older, you get wiser, you can see the balance of why it was created that particular way, where it is now. And I agree with Rob. You now want to know, hey, what happened to these guys? There's only the last Ronin, and the Ronin is always one without a master. So you start pulling all these narrative just for the title itself. What's going on? Who's the last one? What do you mean there's the last one? It just pulls you in. So definitely reading these 5 episodes, these 5 issues definitely pulled me in. And we'll get into it. But it was it's a great storyline. It's a great story.
And I don't think you needed to have read the comic books either.
No, you didn't.
Read this, right?
No. You could have come in
who
completely
everyone
fresh.
was.
Yeah. Even if you didn't know who everyone was, going into this storyline, there's enough information to find out why was he alone? What happened? Whatever the case may be. And like Barry said, there's another Shredder. What is another Shredder? But then they explain it enough in there that even if you didn't have pre-knowledge of who it was before, they laid it out for you. So you can literally pick up these issues, pick up this storyline, and just run right through it and be like, oh, I understand.
And that's the beauty. Yeah. And that's the beauty of the writing of this miniseries. You didn't need to read all the series. You didn't need to watch all the different versions of the cartoon to understand what was happening in this storyline, right? It was very contained, but it gave enough Easter eggs, and then it dropped the truth bombs or the knowledge bombs, I would say, for you to say, oh, okay, you don't got to go through all that history. It's fine, but it's good also for the fans who did go through that history, regardless of what version you watched. So I know I did jump on board with the Turtles way back when they first came out, and it was black and white, and I got the issues, and when Fugitoid came in the first time, and Donatello going solo fighting one of these dinosaurs, it's packed away in my comic boxes. I got it, and yes, it was a darker tone. Yes, I know there's debates that came out now about April and her background, because April, when she first came in, was more of a sister than she was White. And then it's only how they trying to change it over because how it was coloring. So some people weren't sure one way or the other. It got changed. I don't care about that. It is what it is. She's a great character. But what happens? So here's the main thing. You hear Last Ronin. You're like, cool, I'm all in. Buy issue 1. Cool. Start reading it. Who'd you think was going to be the last Ronin before knowing? So, because keep in mind, none of us knew when we picked up issue 1. They were like, Last Ronin, it's a turtle. Everyone's question, who did you think it was going to be, or who did you hope it was going to be?
Going in, I expected it to be Raphael.
Right.
And I think that's just because that's like he's always been the rogue solo guy.
100%.
Yep.
So I think, 100%. But like hindsight, it was a little too obvious maybe that it wasn't going to be him. When you think about like his character traits, right, and how aggressive and angry he is, and what actually transpired to the death of all the other turtles, you're like, yeah, no, it makes sense that Raphael didn't survive.
Yeah, he's too hot-tempered.
To be the first one down. He should have been the first one out to be the last one standing.
Exactly.
That's it. I fully agree with you on that one.
Yeah, because I'm thinking at first, first thing is like Last Ronin, you're thinking it's Raph. Right? He's the toughest one. He's going to survive. But then you think, wait a minute, but he's the most hot-tempered one. He's the first one jumping in a fight. So if we take and put an X through him, that leaves 3 more. So, and this is before we knew. Did you think it was going to be, Raph is the obvious choice initially? That's the gut reaction. Yeah. But did you think it could have been Leonardo, Donatello, or Michelangelo? Did you think it was one of them? Before knowing who it was, did you think, well, Raph's the obvious choice? No, because of his temper. Leonardo, leader, Donatello, very smart, calculating. Mikey, surfer slacker.
Right. So I would have honestly been, Leo would have been my second choice.
Right.
To me, Leo would be my second choice. Again, the leader, he's the one who's just he's not the planner, but he's just the one who just keeps everybody together and everything along that line.
Okay.
So you would think, okay, Master Splinter is gone. Who's going to be taking up the, leading the team? As per usual, you would expect Leo. So if something happened, Leo will be the master, who ended up just at the end being the final sensei to show us the way.
Okay. So what would you, Rob? Who'd you think would have been it?
After I've gone through it, I was like, I kind of thought Donatello more so just because of his intelligence. You think maybe he could survive more than anything,
right? See,
I think he wouldn't be on the forefront. He'd be like doing the what do you call it? He's working the background sort of things. Right. He's doing IT. He's not out there fighting. Maybe he could have avoided the fallout. I don't know, but that's kind of where I went.
Right, and that's the same. We're on the same page. I went the same way too because I said Raph. Too much hot-tempered first one in. Leonardo, okay, him, Last Ronin, he's almost a code of a samurai, so to speak. But he's so honor-bound that he'll go down fighting. Now, then it comes to Mikey. I didn't think Mikey would be it because Mikey doesn't take it as seriously, right? Which, and we get back to that, but I was going Donatello because Donatello, I've seen him in a solo issue, in the Turtles. And he held his own, stranded in another dimension that he got pulled in with magic. And that was the original run. I can't remember if it was issue 8 or something like that, but he gets pulled into another dimension, trying to get this whole magic rock, fighting off mutated creatures. And he's a planner. He's a thinker. He knows both strengths and weaknesses. So he's not running into a fight to swing a punch first. He's going to wait, see you, set a trap, let the trap go, then get right. So with that, yeah. He's gonna do his biohazard. That was our Laser Quest name. So don't. Yeah, that's a story in itself.
That's enough.
Oh, jeez.
Sorry, you set me up, man.
Yeah, we used to play Laser Quest, and you were Biohazard. You were Biohazard, and I was Body Count.
Body count.
Nice.
Sorry. Right.
Every time I shot somebody, I just yelled out Body Count in the house.
Supposed to be stealth.
Supposed to be stealth.
You're supposed to be running in, right?
Yeah. No, I had the beret from Demolition Man, but Ray, I'm not right in the head. So we'll
come back to that.
It's true, I'm not. I thought it would be Donatello.
Mm.
You know, and I'm reading this whole thing with the premise of, okay, it's not these three. This is what I'm going with. And then we get to the end, and because the turtles always have their masks, different colors. You know who they are. When they're carrying the weapons, you know who carries what weapon. When you're looking at this one, The Last Ronin, he's got everything.
But everyone.
He's a powerhouse.
Yeah.
He's
got everyone's weapons. He's wearing a black mask.
Yep.
Right. So now we're like, all right, who is it? And then, gets to the end of that first issue. Sure enough, the mask is off, and then we find out. I mean, I know I've skipped over a bunch of stuff, but I just want to get to it. We find out it's Michelangelo.
Yeah.
It's Mikey.
And then you just forced now to flip back the pages. Wait a minute. Where did I not see the sign? Because you're seeing this particular turtle, again, not Michael, but this particular turtle, man, his face is always, he has the facial expression of wrath. So that's why it was so hard to Mikey, this is you? It was so, honestly, I had to go back. I just like to read the first issue again. It's like, oh, I didn't see that coming. Kudos.
Well, I was almost like, you broke poor Mikey. Like, what happened to you, right? Like
100%.
Oh my God, you poor soul.
What did they do to you?
You just want to give Mikey a hug because Mikey was the happy-go-lucky character.
Michelangelo
100%.
is a party dude.
100%.
Exactly.
100%.
Skateboard, nunchucks, pizza, smiling, breakdancing. I'm down with you, Mikey.
He was a comedy relief. He was a comedy relief of the team. What made him break that he now had to say, I cannot be a jokester anymore? What was it that pushed him to that level? We find out later. But it's like, these are questions that are flowing on my head. Like, what's going on?
He was fighting Russia. I know. Look, because you said he was a comedy guy, and the first thing I thought about was the Ukraine. Their president used to be a comedian, and now he's the toughest guy over there with cojones of steel. Okay, be it if you agree with him or not, clank, clank. You know what I mean? He's out there doing what he needs to do. So this is what happens. So see, people, let me tell you something. Side note: I'm a comedian. Rob's a comedian, and I'll say this: if you step on stage to slap one of us, we ain't going to turn around and take the hit and say, okay, we'll get back to you on a special. We'll do that, but we ain't going to Chris Rock the situation. We go turn around and go Ukraine on you. We will attack you. There might be drones involved.
Oh, shoot.
Yeah, but that's right. Mikey was the Joker, easygoing, give me my pizza. He's still fighting with his nunchucks. And I mean, let's not knock his skill because Mikey didn't just use one nunchuck. He used two.
Yeah.
And just using one, you have to be like they see you as a master, an expert, because it's so a finesse, deadly skill. And he uses two while riding a skateboard.
Listen, that takes focus. That's to be you start to think of him like he's the comical guy, but to be able to handle not one but two nunchucks without knocking himself out
while riding a skateboard
and not knocking himself out, that's focus. That's a skill already. We have people who do that on 2 feet. This guy's doing on basically 2 feet on a board, 4 wheels, all at the same time.
3 fingers.
3 fingers. Man was doing this like this, right? Nah. Let's be real. Let's be real.
Like, right? And Leonardo, 2 swords, but he's very focused. Raph, the 2 sides, but he's very focused. Donatello, his bow staff, he's very focused. Mikey, what's going on, guys?
Yeah, just
where are we getting pizza? And he's laughing while he's whooping butt. Like, so when you go back and I'm reading it, and I'm like, first impression is, okay, want it to be Ralph. Hope it's Donatello. I find out it's Mikey. I had to jump back and went, okay, skill-wise, makes sense.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Right? Like that's what blew me away. Skill wise, it makes sense. But then it gets to what happened. Now, and the beauty of it is like a lot of people, fans, I'm not sure, Rob, if you feel this way about it. You know, he goes through the issue, he gets back into the city because the city's got a wall around it, like New York. He smuggles his way in, he's going to get revenge, fights off people, gets jumped, gets beat, walks away bleeding, and then, you know, he has a flashback of his brothers talking to his brothers, he wakes up.
Well,
Sure
as he's
enough.
about to go kill himself too.
He's about to kill himself. You
Yeah,
gotta
yeah.
very
Sorry, I
important
almost
part.
forget that part. Yes, he's supposed to do seppuku. Like he's got the story, and that's it. That's it. I failed my family.
Right.
Yeah, like seconds away from doing it, and then he passed out. Right, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Turns around, and then he gets woken up by a familiar voice, and you know, because he's imagining his brothers. And he wakes up and he's looking up, and it's like April, and she's very casually, "Hey, Mikey."
Yeah. That's how they end issue 1. You're like,
What just happened here? What just happened here? That's
Oh.
when you find out Mikey is alive. I mean, he's Mikey, and April's alive? Okay, let's go.
yeah, it drew you in slowly, right? Now you're like, okay, well, I know somebody else in this universe. Like, there's some still stuff going on.
Right.
I will say, I wish we waited a little bit longer for that reveal.
I agree.
I wish like maybe the series was maybe 6 issues instead of 5, and you got it at the end of issue 2, just to build a little bit of suspense. Like, because that was the draw of the whole series, was who is like the last Ronin.
Of the Ronin.
And then they kind of told you, right, like at the end of the first one, you're like, oh, like, don't get me wrong, it's flipping awesome.
Yeah.
But you're like, tease me a
It
little
was
bit
too
longer.
quick.
Yeah.
It's too quick. Like, you know, and you know, when it's like if you're a wrestling fan, it's like you see someone who's, you know, the baby face, and all of a sudden they come in for 2 matches, and then by, you know, the match, it's like, oh, wait a minute, they're heel? Oh, they could have dragged that story out, not dragged it out, but they could have prolonged that a little bit longer, make more build up on that. So I agree with you that it was too quick. But what was interesting was very casually, April goes, "Hey, Michael," or "Hey, Michelangelo," and you know, and he's like, "Hey, April," and I'm like, but as fans, you're like, how'd you know he wasn't wearing the mask?
Again, I take it that it's one of those things you got to go back and start looking at the drawing aspect, because I'm sure there's certain distinctions. You know, a freckle here kind of scenario. We're just, unless we've been like Rob, who can get pixelated on each of their faces, like seeing like, listen, you see his eyes over there? He's dilating on that side. I know who that is. I wouldn't realize the drawing was that detailed. Rob is like, I know who that is. Maybe she, you know, she's been with the Turtles for how long? Maybe she can smell his scent. I don't know. But she figured who Mikey was.
I figure like it's like if you have friends that are twins, right? Like you eventually figure out which
100%.
one is which, right?
There you go. There you go.
I imagine, though, that being said, like he's supposed to have aged a lot too. So I guess there's kind of like some gaps to fill in there. It's supposed to have been years since they last saw each other, but like,
yeah, it was. Yeah.
Yeah. But you brought up a very valid point, right? She was mother/sister to them. You know, that's how they seen her, right? And, you know, and correct me if I'm wrong, she's been around them the most. She was the human that's been around them the most, and seen them, know how they walk, their mannerisms, you know, who's left-handed, who's right-handed, so forth like that. So when you think about it, yeah, exactly. You could figure she probably would look without a mask and know which turtle is which turtle just by how they walk, how they breathe, just body language. It's like having twins. The mom will always know which twin is which, even though every twin said they try to always do the swap-a-roo. It's like, no, you're Stephanie, and you know, you're Sarah. No, Mom, I'm Sarah. No, I know because Sarah walks like this, or you know, so she can tell those differences. So it was nice to see that, and to know that closeness is still there. She still recognizes them, who they are. But then, you know, issue 2 opens up, and there's more. So 1, we know that it's Mikey. 2, we know April is back.
Right.
And then it starts once again down the rabbit hole. You know, so for issue 2, so I know issue 1 was really just him going and getting revenge. Issue 2 really starts to explain what happened. And as you said, what happened to Mikey? We get a good idea between, you know, like I said, issue 2 and 3. So what did you think of the storytelling of the next couple of issues, Rob?
Like I guess it jumps right into the future or the past, right, where the war happened. Yeah, I'm interested to draw that story out more. I want to know what kind of got everything to the brink. So we're told, right, there's a truce in place between the turtles and the Foot, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
Mhm.
And then Karai goes and decides to attempt they attack somebody.
Yeah. They turn around and attack someone, so they know they make the truce, and then someone gets attacked like random. I'm not sure if it's randomly or not, and this is what kind of breaks the whole truce. But it lasted for a while, so from what I'm gathering, there's like a 10-year gap from when this truce happened, or when they broke the truce to where it is in the future. It's like a 10-year gap. Certain elements of what they said, as we go forward, we realize the turtles, they started training their whole lives. They started fighting the Foot when they're about, as teenagers, like 16 or so.
Yeah.
When we kind of catch up really with their storyline. And then, how many years did they do that fight for? And then add another 10. So I was trying to kind of put, like, what age is Mikey at this point? Is he 20 something, 30?
At this point, I was trying to calculate it myself. I think I was giving him like mid 30s. I was giving him some mid 30s because it was 10 years before that they had the truce, and then he disappeared from everybody for like, was it 15 or 20?
I thought it was 15. I think it's 15. Yeah.
I think it was 15 or 20. So that's why the number to me was pushing towards.
That makes sense.
Pushing towards. Yeah, into like in a sense would have been like his mid 30s type of scenario.
So he's mid 30s, almost borderline 40.
Probably 40s, yeah.
40, yeah. So we're at that point. We're at that point. So I'm like, you know what? It'd be more 40s. I should be actually saying that he'd be in his 40s. He'd be like in his mid 40s. Sorry, I calculated it wrong.
Yeah, it's all good.
But then the question I was even having off here before we started was telling Rob that this is where you start to realize the lifespan. What is the lifespan of a turtle? An average turtle, what is the lifespan? It's supposed to be like 20 to 30 years.
No, it's longer than that, isn't it?
Well, no, for turtles, aquatic turtles will commonly live 20 to 30 years in captivity.
Oh, captivity.
But live much long captivity.
Right.
But if they lived on their own outside type of scenario, they can live estimated 100 to 150.
Right.
Now,
so
we're going to say, as much as we love the turtles, these turtles domesticated.
But they're not captive.
But they're domesticated.
But they're not captive. A captive turtle means like you can't go nowhere. You're in your shell. I'm sorry, you're in your little cube and you can't go anywhere. These turtles ran all across New York.
I understand.
Outer space. They were like teenagers. So as a teenager, you just come home.
They're captured in the sewers, man. They know how to use the toilet.
They only come home to clean their room when Splinter has to deal with them, and then they go out at night and do their thing, right? So they weren't captivated. If they were captive, then they would be in like a maximum prison or something like that, being dissected.
Okay.
Yeah. So
I was being out of the wild. I'm just saying they're not scrounging for berries in the bushes.
No, not at all.
No, I was to say they're domesticated. They know about pizza, and they know how to pay money through the grill, for pizza.
To bring pizza to this alley, put it on the floor. The money's here. Don't look, thanks.
122 and an eighth. 122 and an eighth. You're standing on it, dude.
Oh man. And that's the beauty of it, because you can read the storyline and it doesn't matter if you just watch the cartoons. It makes
100%.
sense. Doesn't matter if you just watch the live action movies. It makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you watch the Michael Bay ones, it still makes sense. It's just that why they shrink.
Right. Yeah. I think the better question is, like, did they eat? What does 35 years of eating pizza do to you? Is what we're not looking at here.
Well, I would say it raises cholesterol, but he's active.
Very,
True.
very.
Which saves him. So him eating the cheese and all that, you'd think you would have to take some medication, but because he's active, so exercise is important.
There we go.
It's his mutated genes that helped him. That's all I'm going to say. Because you'll learn later on in a couple of issues later on, or somewhere in there, you're talking about, you look bigger. Yeah, I just the mutation, I just mutated into a bigger form. And that's where we're looking at him, looking like, you don't look like Mikey. You look like a brick wall with anger issues.
So exactly. So this is where everything kind of goes at one point, but it starts to show his mind frame. And that's what really drew me in. As you said before, what happened to Mikey? What broke him? And then they start kind of doing, and forgive me, it might be a blur between issues 2 and 3 or so. They start going through some of the flashbacks. But I mean, before we go on, I'll say April's back. Happy April's back. And then you realize April's missing a limb. Sorry, she's missing a leg.
Yep.
I think 2 limbs, an arm and a leg, if I'm not mistaken.
An arm.
That's right.
An arm
and a leg. She's missing an arm and a leg.
Yeah.
And you're like, what? And then she's like, oh, well, I'm living in your place. I'm like, what do you mean you're living in my place? She's in the turtle's lair in the sewer, living there. She cleaned it up, and that's where she's living. You're like, what? And then it's like, oh, by the way, I got a daughter.
What?
It's like, please tell me. It's like, it's Casey. What?
Yeah.
The daughter's name is Casey, named after her father. Casey Jones? No.
Yeah.
What? How did you feel about some of those reveals? Did you find them a little bit, were they good for you, Rob? Were they too fast for you? Did you enjoy the reveals that were happening?
Yeah. I was like, at first I was like, okay, her name's Casey. Like, that's kind of a little too on the nose. But then, like, as you find out what happened to everyone, you're like, okay, like, right. I think it was like Casey Jones dies in the big battle that they do have. Mm-hmm. And then when April comes out of the hospital, she's lost her arm, she's lost her leg, and she's pregnant. Yes. So like hindsight, like her mindset makes sense to like call her daughter after her father, right? Like, or her husband.
Yes.
So you're like, okay. At first I was like, it's a little cheesy, but like I get it. I'm with it.
Yeah. Right. And the breakdown of it. Sorry, Rod, go ahead. Say your point.
No, I was just saying, like, and the flashback is really more for that particular episode or issue is basically when they do the flashback is when all the turtles and Master Splinter comes back from being ambushed. So this, you can see from here, this is one, as you know, what creates a villain?
Yeah.
You try to think of my family. You try to think of my father. We were ambushed. I thought we have a truce. And so you clearly start to see how everybody now is being affected by what's the starting point of why the turtles are where they are at this time.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And so we got that quick one bad day, but you start seeing the building blocks of the memories of what led us to where we are. So seeing that Splinter was in a fight, well, they all went for some type of meeting and they got double crossed. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then you see later on in that, again, Raph, hot temper. Where do you think Raph is going? Oh, I'm gonna break some teeth.
Oh yeah.
And then Raph went to break some teeth. But unfortunately,
he didn't make it. Yeah. Because that whole thing comes in, and that's that was the scene that really set it for me. Is Casey and April.
Mm-hmm.
It said, hey, we invited them over. They're supposed to be here for 6:30. You told them 6:30 for sharp? Yes. Okay, because they pretty much at this point we know Casey proposed to April. Yeah. She said yes. She's like, I always thought I would marry you out of pity, but I love you. You know, we're doing this, and we're nervous because now they got to tell the rest of the guys, and the guys don't know because they're all see each other as family, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. I like that. I think that was really beautiful how that was set up. And then all of a sudden, Raph comes through the door, crashing through the door, half bloodied, and they had the table all nicely set. Raph pays no attention, pulls everything off the table, clear the table. Like, what's going on? We're about to have a nice moment in our lives, because when you propose, as you all know, right, it's supposed to be a beautiful moment, and how it was like a baptism by blood. In there, clear the table, throw down, Splinter.
Yeah.
Here's what happened. The Foot Clan didn't keep the truce. They broke the truce. Okay, surprised it lasted as long as it did. Right. We can't do anything stupid. Where's Raph?
Right. Right. As
God
soon as
damn it,
they
Raph.
utter the words, it's like, man, stand down. What do you mean, stand down? Yeah. I go, first off. That's it.
He Batman vanished his own team.
Yeah.
100%.
I mean, I will say at least like he got to kick some ass and like before he went, he didn't go
Oh,
down without a
100%.
fight.
100%.
No.
100%.
He went down
They could have drawn him. They could have let him drawn out without a proper. Give him an honorable. If anything, if this is one time you want to call this guy a Klingon, he had an honorable death. Okay, he had an honorable death.
it was glorious. Like he went down. Spartans were looking around going, "We're down with you, guy. We're down with you." The 300, he could have been like 301. 300 men and one turtle. We could have used you on the battlefield that day.
Yeah.
And he's supposed to be a ninja, but he's a brawler. And he gets in there. He starts fighting all the Foot Clan. And he's tossing them left, right, and center. He's taking his hits. He's still going up. It was like a Royal Rumble. If you watch Stone Cold Steve Austin in a Royal Rumble, he's one of the first men in, and he's the last one standing.
He started at 1. He ran his way to 30.
Fought his way to 30 guys coming in, tossing him over the ring. Yeah, and that was the birth of 316. Beautiful. That's what Ralph, come on, he's New York. That's what you do in New York.
Yeah.
New York is supposed to be tough. He went out there and represented that aspect of his personality, got down to the woman that was running the Foot Clan at the time.
Yeah, correct.
And then she took a blade off of Ralph's leg and stabbed him like through the head, really much from the jaw right through the brain, underwater, and that was it. And I'm like, oh.
Yeah. But he got her too at the same time, right? He gutted her.
Yeah.
Didn't kill her, put her in a coma at least.
Exactly. So he went down, like, if you wanted to hear the term going down swinging and you're not sure what that's supposed to look like, read issue 2, check out a couple of those pages with Raph just 100%. Going one-man army. If the rest of the Turtles were there, he might have come out alive.
I think he would have.
Yeah, even if Casey Jones was there, because Casey was all about, let's add to that body count. Raph's like, yeah.
You go left, I'll go right. We'll meet back in the middle in about 20 minutes. Yeah. Break. That's it.
So, but I said, what it really brings to me is you see how damaged Michelangelo is.
Yeah.
Because now when you're realizing you're looking at some of the flashbacks, he's not having flashbacks. It's not flashbacks per se as memories. He's having conversations with the
remaining brothers.
His remaining brothers who are all passed, who are now figments of his imagination. Yeah, having full conversations. He's broken.
He's broken. He's still living with this, right? Like it hasn't left him yet.
Yeah.
He has not forgotten these years. Like,
no, he was a broken Matt.
Yeah,
broken Matt Hardy. Delete. It broke. He is. He's broken at this point that he's having that. And I thought that was really an interesting aspect for them to put in there to show the post-traumatic stress. That's exactly how I'm labeling that. Survivor's guilt, post-traumatic stress. He's dealing with that and then dealt with that all these years.
Yep.
And then they took a little bit of gap. When he went missing for 15 years, it's because he went on a trip. He left New York. He got on a plane, went overseas, over to Asia, and trained. Okay, did I mention the guy had 2 nunchucks and a skateboard?
Yeah, first he meditated for like a year or something like that.
Yeah, that was heavy.
Yeah,
and then broke his silence or whatever, and then kept training in Japan or something like that.
Right. And during this course, we know, okay, you got the original Shredder, who had a daughter, and that's who Raph put into a coma.
Oh.
Yeah, Karai.
Right, Karai, thank you. I'm bad with names. And then she had a son.
Yeah.
And he's fighting the son. So this is a generational family feud scenario where he's fought the father, the daughter, and the grandson.
Listen, you're funny you say that, because I actually had that thought. I didn't think it along. I was thinking in a bubble of when you hear clans having feuds.
Yes.
It's a longevity. It's not like, we're having a fight for 5 months or 2 years or whatever the case to be. We're clearly seeing that there's some deep-rooted hate between these two families for like 30, 40 years. Like, okay, this is something serious. And it's real. It's giving me some realism to at least attach to the story. And that's what I liked about it.
Oh, yeah, and then they showed the clans back in Japan as well. And you're like, that didn't even cross my mind.
This is what I'm saying.
Right? So this is like transcontinental. This is this family feud is taking place, right? So
the Hatfields and the McCoys. But yeah, I never thought, every time I think of the Foot Clan, I only think about them here, like when I say here, in New York. I never thought about them back in Japan. 100%. I'm thinking, the whole clan is here. I didn't realize they had resources overseas. Logically, it makes sense.
Right.
But it's like so obvious that it just went right over my eyes.
Yeah.
Like, this is why they have like endless amount of, every time you think about it, it's like, oh no, they're all based here in New York, right? They're not gonna, and then you find out there's more over there. It's like, we're gonna have the Foot Clan in Japan. It's like, wait a minute, you guys all didn't move? You all didn't get in a U-Haul and move and come overseas? It's like you still left people back home and running things, and
it's branching, man. It's just branching. You just branching the franchise. Okay, we're gonna franchise out from Japan to go to the US. We're gonna open up a branch. Shredder, take it. Thank you. And that's it. And he just took over operations in the US.
Right.
For all we know, that's how he gets supply. He makes some money. He sends some money back. He gets supplies, Listen, it kind of goes back, side note, to our conversation a while back with G.I. Joe and Cobra. This just only shows, where are you getting the resources for the Foot Clan? Where are you getting the resources for outfits, training? Because basically, the Turtles are putting people down like crazy. How many Foot Clan members? 100%. So where are you getting the refund? Or where are you getting the funding to supply and create and make sure that you have Foot Clan members waiting in the back? I'm in the G Leagues. Hey, Mom, how you doing? I'm still at camp. I'm doing great. I think my training is still for another 4 months, but I feel at the end of that, they're going to put me up, Mom. I'm going to make it big. I'll show you. I'm going to make it big.
I'm a Crimson Guard now.
Exactly. You just moved up from the D Leagues to, like, what just happened here? How did that work? It doesn't make you got to really think that out.
I want to know more about that's it, but I want to know more about the Foot Clan. That's what I wanted to know more about their global reach, like where they
Foot Clan International, right? Like, where does this go?
That's just
and all they're doing is fighting these 4 guys. But why is that so important? Like, I mean, what else? Who else the Foot Clan fight? If you got that big of an organization, you're taking business from some other people. You're fighting somebody else. You're not just fighting for mutants that you're trying to get the ooze from. So where, I know what the motivation is. I know it's hatred. I know it's there.
Right.
I know the ooze is part of it. Yeah, and then speaking of the ooze, we see Baxter Stockman at one point show up.
Right. So we're making some connection. It's like coming full circle. Individual, from your past, they're like, oh, you're still alive. Oh, this is not good. I thought you would have been dead, Baxter. Oh, Baxter's still alive. Oh, flag on the play, 10-yard penalty. This is getting serious now.
Bring back Krang, and I think we would have a full circle.
Right.
So now we got a little bit overview of issue 2. Issue 3, we see that Mikey's up. He's moving around. He's talking to April. They're having a flashback where she explains about her injuries, and they talk about her daughter. You see her daughter is now really into, like, the daughter wasn't surprised by seeing Michelangelo. She was like, kind of, oh, this is who my mom was talking about. Helped out.
Heard the stories.
Yeah. And she's like, she's 16. They established that right away. She's 16. And she seems to have her own little street gang going at the same time. So she's not dumb. She's streets, as they say. She's smart and street smart.
Yeah.
And knows to handle herself. She can throw some hands, and defend herself. But now she wants to kind of take a step up and be trained.
Yeah.
It's expanding. We get more on, the new leader and what happened in New York. It got walled up. So what parts stand out for you during this issue, Rob? Like, what, because right now you're invested. I know if you've got issue 1, you got issue 2, now you go and get issue 3 and you're reading it. Does anything stand out for you personally?
Well, yeah, once they start showing the training with Casey Marie there,
yes.
Right? They show she's been training she's basically training in the same dojo that the Turtles trained in. Well, she is not, right? She's training in the same place they did.
100%.
So it hit you again, more feels. You're hitting more nostalgia because she's training with all the weapons. She's hitting the punching bag, and they drop it's right. She needs a trainer. She needs somebody to actually how to harness all her, show her the way. Right. She needs her sensei.
Yes,
that's what it is. What I like too is up to that point, I slowly start to see some type of connection, and I'm going to go back to like the first issue when you see Mikey's running around. Well, actually, more for the second one, but he now have his father's book. This is all the training my father has, like all the steps. So basically, this is the book, the Bible, that brought him to, that he taught, that he learned from. And at the time, everybody had their own section. When he went for meditation and everything like that, he took the book with him. So now he can learn to be a full-rounded ninja, a full-rounded one, because now he just got to learn all the techniques. It felt good seeing that she's looking for someone to train. And in the back of my mind, wait a minute, doesn't this guy have Papa Splinter's book? Doesn't he have like the original volume? Isn't a volume 1 with all the highlights? Like, do this, do that. Like, no, this is,
Splinter's book on how to be ninja.
Exactly. So I was like,
1995.
I was like, put a pin on that. I was kind of hoping that we're going to, we'll circle back to that. So it kind of made me feel, okay, at this point, she's looking to learn. I've been learning all around here. Like you said, I'm learning around. I'm in your old dojo. I'm in your place now. This is my house now. I'm learning. I think I'm good. I got streaks. I got hands. I can take somebody out. That's hilarious. When the next part that came after that made me weakle after. Another additional level of respect for Michelangelo at that point when he said, okay, let me see what you got. Yo, the beat down he put down on her, he wasn't even beating her down. He was more defensive. Pop, pop, pop. You're leaning too much. But the thing that got me is that he was talking through every problem that she made as a sensei, and he wasn't even trying to do that. He was just kind of like, you're annoying me, but okay, fine. You think you got hands? You're leaning too much. You let your anger, flow through you. And I was like, Pin, we're going to come back to that later on. I'm dead sure. I said, we're going to come back to this later on. I feel it. I don't know what you felt on that point, Rob. I don't know what you guys felt at that point, you guys. But
yeah, Rob, so Rob, bring it over to you, man. What do you think about seeing Michelangelo almost taking that kind of sensei role with Casey Marie?
Very like Mr. Miyagi, right? Like you're not worthy. I like wax on. I got this. You're not at my caliber yet. Like you might have read the book, but like I wrote it. Right?
That's the line.
But at the same time, like she's holding her own ish. Right? So then there's a little bit of wonder there, and like as the issue kind of progresses, you find out that like she was infected with like a slight bit of mutation, right? So she's got a little bit extra strength, and she's not super like the turtles are, but she's a little bit in between, right? So you're like, okay, like we just need to figure out how to harness these abilities, and like she can kick some ass.
But she's a super soldier. She got the super soldier serum,
100%.
like Captain America,
100%.
And like the two best parents in the world, right? Like you got smarts and street toughness.
And street brawl, yeah.
So are you satisfied though? So pretty much she's a new character. Were you satisfied with Casey Marie being in there?
Yeah, I think like you can tell they're trying to put April on the back burner. And like, right. Like again, she's injured. So they want to, it only makes sense to like have someone new to step place. So it's nice that she's kind of replacing April in there, but you're getting to carry on the story of her parents.
Yes. Great. Very true. Very true. And I think, at this point, April has gone through enough. Right? Let her go out in a nice pasture as well it can be, and let her, not to get rid of April, but I mean, April was never a fighter per se.
No,
she was never a fighter. She was smart. She was a reporter. She had
she's
some
a
resources
reporter,
to help them
detective
out.
type of person. Exactly.
Yeah, right. But now she's gone through her life. She's lived it. It's gotten dark, but she's not resentful.
No, I think that's like that struck me, right? Like April's been through a lot of stuff, and she's still like, she has like a positive-ish outlook on life. Like every right, she could be just as sad and mopey as like Mikey is, right? If not worse, because she lost her family as well, and now she's a single mother living in the sewers, where her
Right.
arch nemesis controls the city. Like this woman has every reason to like hate her life, but she's like, no, like I've been still trying to grind this fight out without you guys. Like,
Right.
I'm happy you're here, so like maybe you can step up now. Almost like,
glad you're here. Can you still punch? All right, thanks.
Right.
You know, I like the Easter eggs they brought in. I mean, the flashbacks are beautiful. The art was great. You know, when they brought in Fugitoid, they brought in, you know, Baxter, and they wrapped up his storyline where, you know, Fugitoid kind of goes back and it says, well, you can't hurt my friends anymore. And that was cool because Fugitoid was really, or Fugitoid, he was really prominent in the series at one point, the original series, and even the newer ones. But in the original series, the black and white ones, he came in there. And he was like an R2-D2 kind of character. And he ties them into going into outer space, and then he befriends them, helps them. So with Baxter trying to turn around and take that over, he's like, no, I rather, you know, before you touch me, I rather self-destruct, take me out so you don't corrupt me, protect my friends, and take you out so you can never do it again. It was like a self-sacrifice. And I'm thinking, oh, okay, it's just to be the two of them. And then they show the explosion, and if the whole building goes, I'm like, how much were you packing?
Right.
There's C4, there's nitro. Use nitro.
It's the lesser of both worlds. Come on now.
Well, there's no question about, yeah, you ain't coming back.
No, 100%. He's just making sure, like, you can't put me back together like Humpty Dumpty. I'm giving you no opportunity. Everything's getting fried. What?
And what do you think about that, Rob?
I was just thinking, like, they played on the arrogance of Baxter Stockman, right?
Yeah.
The whole time, like, they can't break into my fortress. This thing's impenetrable. Like this is nothing. I like that he's still arrogant after all these years, right? Like he hasn't learned, I guess.
Learned a lesson. No, exactly. That's a perfect point.
But I guess he doesn't know that the turtle or Mikey's there. I don't know if he.
At that time, no, they don't. I think that at that time it was
just like Casey's gang, right? That were attacking.
Yeah. Casey's gang is attacking at that time, but in prior is or the flashback of what's happening to.
Oh, sorry.
No. Like I'm just saying for that. I think I might be episode 3. I mean, I might be episode 4 for that particular one, but 3 is when they do the flashback. Is when they separate to go. One team is going to Japan because have the peace talks. Oh, that's cool. It's cool having the peace talks, and then the other ones are basically trying to break into Splinters. Splinters on domain to get something. I can't remember right off the top of my head, but they were splitting up at that particular point. But they had to do it simultaneously. That you can't make it so we're coming to peace, but my boy's back there is about to break into your place, so you can't raid him in for the last minute. So that was part of the thing, which led to Futuroid.
Yeah, I know Fugitoid. Yeah, I keep messing up the name up. Yeah, but you know what I'm talking about. We'll say the robot.
The robot, still the robot. You know, who was with them to try to get some information, and then realizing that he felt he had it within him to take down everybody. So it's weird.
Right.
It's weird.
Yeah. And now we get to issue 5, the last issue. Overall impressions, were you happy with how, I know we can talk about it, were you happy, Rob, with how it ended? The whole story arc and how it went?
I think so. Like they left a lot to be interpreted, a lot of gaps to fill in a good way, though. Like you let your imagination go, kind of what happened here, what happened there. Like, sure, they did flashbacks, but there's still some stories to be told in between there.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I think, and then like, I don't know, there's still a lot of questions still like a little bit left unanswered. Like where do we go with like Casey Marie? Who was Shredder's dad? Who was the new Shredder's dad? We just know that he's a bastard. That's all they say he is.
Yes.
Right. Like there's another puzzle to solve. I don't know. There's a lot of different mysteries to still be solved, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. So I know you said something earlier, and you said 6 issues. So would you want to still? I mean, I know you enjoy it, and we're not trying to trash it, right? But would you rather have one more issue for more storytelling?
Yeah, I'm
satisfied with it as 5 and think 5 was good enough.
I think like 6 would have been perfect for me. I do feel like that last battle was kind of like a little bit fast, a little rushed. Don't get me wrong. Like if I'm being nitpicky, it was just came on a little fast. For something that was supposed to be so big and so epic, maybe like a little bit more to plan and figure it out and show everything that's kind of happening. You just wish they had more pages to tell the story there.
Right. But they always say sometimes they leave you wanting more. So at the same time, it's 2 sides. I get you want more, but they want to leave you wanting more. Going with that, and what about yourself, Rod? Did you think the same thing? Same question for you. Did 5 issues was enough? Did you want 6?
I think I will say this. I would definitely agree with Rob in the sense that I would have liked to have known you. I think you were saying the same thing. Some more about the Foot stuff about back home. If we had that opportunity to learn some more of that, I mean, more pages, then we'll have to get a six issue on that. Seeing that wasn't there, this was all right. I did find a couple of parts were fillers that I'm like, you could have used someplace else. Like when April was trying to flush out the sewers, when the sewers are getting flushed out, and she's the only one who can go and drain out, to pump out the water, that kind of stuff. The whole fact that even it getting swamped out, I'm like, I know you're trying to take out their home. I get indirectly, it wasn't even supposed to take out their home, if I can remember correctly. I just thought that particular part of the arc was kind of like, didn't really need this part at all.
It was just so like April had a story almost, kind of, right? Like, so she had a thing to do.
Exactly. And that's what I realized what they were doing, but I'm like, we probably could have wrote her up to do something else. But, 5 was good. Definitely 6 would be nicer with some more information about, back home. But I mean, it gives you more clarity of, where Mikey's head was at that time about his brothers, like why he got pushed to like start seeing all his brothers and stuff like that. I think it was in that one. I think the 4th or the 5th one was talking about that as well. So I like that clarity. Why is he having these full on conversation with, his brothers, the demons that he's carrying? It clearly explained that at some point within there, and I'm like, okay, I like that. So that's the part I like.
Right, I liked it. I agree with you. The fight, I wanted more of a bigger fight, more planned out fight. I like when the fight actually did take place. I think they could have, as I said, given me more of that. You're right. April felt like she's like, okay, well, Michelangelo's doing this. Casey Marie's doing that. This is happening over here. This is happening over here. What about April?
We got to give her something to do.
She's gonna flip a switch.
Yeah. Heat on the water, flip a switch.
And I said, but it was bittersweet for me. And I said, once again, can't be any spoilers. This has been from 2023. Bittersweet for me. Happy ending, not happy ending. After this big fight that goes on with Michelangelo, he finally deals with the new leader of the Foot Clan, who has like nanotech armor, like almost like Venom. It just goes over him, which I thought was cool.
Yeah,
it was like
a Venom shredder.
Yes. I'm like, we need a figure. So when that happens, said and done, it ends. Mikey gets his revenge. But of course, it takes a toll on Mikey because Mikey ends up losing his life.
Well, I did want to. I was wondering about that, right? Or is that just like the red herring? Because like, how many other times was he talking to his brothers?
That's true.
In flashbacks, right? Like they lead you on that he did pass away. Like that's the assumption I went with.
Right. Yes.
But like they could very easily be like, oh no, he was on the brink of death and then lived.
It's true. And the only reason, like you said, they lead it that way. They show like the heart symbol, the monitor, and it kind of flat lines at one point. But once again, he's talking to his brothers. How many times people do that and they come back? You're clear.
Yeah. Like he's a mutant, right? Like we don't know what his normal heartbeat is. Like who knows what the mutagen does to him? We don't know. He very well could come back. Like
completely.
So, so going with, and that's, we're going to split this in two then. So going with the idea that Mikey's died at this point, he seemed to found peace. He's avenged his brothers. He's in a place of peace. And then you get that, Casey's training to be a ninja, still hanging with mom in the lair, and they get the mutagen, and then you see the last page has a bubble, a dome with 4 turtles in it. Right. And they're pumping the mutagen in there. So let's go with a couple of things. One, do you want these turtles to become the new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in the future? Do you want that to be, version 2? Would you be open to that storyline?
For me, I think I like the tease of it. I don't know if I need that story. I'm happy with if we do a little bit of maybe of Casey Marie or something like that, but I don't know if I need more of what are these new turtles, because there's no more Shredders, right? We've got rid of Stockman, everything. It's a very nice it tied it off very nicely, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
This whole family war, I guess, is what you can call it, right?
Right.
Unless again, I guess there's more Shredder kids out there. I don't know. That could the great grandkid of Shredder, maybe, but
100%. They could do that. I will admit, I don't know if you know, there is a prelude. Not prelude.
Yeah.
Right? There's the Lost Years.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So there's one after this. So they do kind of go along that line.
I think it's on issue 3 right now, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, so I haven't read that yet. I'll be very.
Yeah. It's in print right now. So
okay,
I have it, but I haven't read it yet because I want to read it as a whole.
Oh, so you wait till you get them all and then read them in one shot.
Yeah.
Got it.
Binge reading, smart. So that's one storyline. But then, correct my if I'm wrong. So we know the mom was in a coma, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is she still around? So she's still in a coma at this point.
That's a good point too. You don't even need sorry, I completely forgot about that.
No, go ahead. Sorry, man.
That's a good point. She could be the one that carries on.
I thought.
I'm not sure if because I know she was in a coma, but I don't think she's still in a coma when the whole storyline breaks down. I don't think she dies or is killed off.
I think she did. I think Michael, when he got inside there, before he actually started physically fighting,
Hiroto is his name.
Hiroto, right? He basically came up to her chambers and just crushed right through it.
Oh,
yeah. Somebody pulled the plug on her, if I'm not mistaken. It might have even been her son, actually,
or one of them, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Now.
Yeah. It was her son. Yeah, you're right.
Yes. Yeah. If I can't. Oh, what did he say?
Yeah. Lost and alone, in her coffin while I conquered, while I thrived. Yeah. He.
I only kept her out of spite. I only kept her alive out of spite. Yeah.
Absolutely. So there we go. So we have that where, okay, that's what the storyline is projected, is kind of making you what to believe, that Mikey has passed away. The turtles are there. Casey Marie is training as a ninja to be, up her game and maybe take on that role as a sensei herself. So now that she's got the book, she's had some training with Mikey. She's had field work with Mikey. She knows the level she's got to get to. What happens if Mikey was still alive?
Mm-hmm.
I think.
Yeah.
Well,
go ahead. Sorry.
What happens if Mikey survived? What happens if Mikey survived that? You put it, the mutagen, we don't know. Maybe he went into a healing coma. We've heard those terms used before in comic books, and then they come back out, and it's like, what happened? I was in such a deep coma, you couldn't hear my heartbeat, but I was in a healing coma. I used my ninja technique to slow down my body functions to heal. And he comes back. Do you want to see him come back? Do you think that there's any more story that he needs to tell at this point?
That's the question.
I'm torn. Right, I think that's the question, right? Obviously, I want to see more of this version of Mikey, but the story did wrap up nicely. That's my only problem.
Yeah. Right. I mean, if he's coming back, the only reasoning he's coming back is to sensei Casey Marie.
Yeah,
that's the sole purpose for him to come back. Then, like you said, there's no Shredder or whatever we know at that time. So, for all we know, again, this is a little futuristic. The time, the city at that time is a little futuristic. So maybe they might find another enemy who might be after. Those turtles. I remember the rumors of them. He took down that person. He might be coming after me, because if I'm turf warring and I'm trying to take over Shredder's turf, a new gang rises up. Sensei Michelangelo and youngins, the youngin Casey Marie may have to take to the streets, to the underground, to bring them down.
I think if I'm right, I think one of the cartoons they had to fight a gang there, and it was Purple Dragons, I think it was.
Yeah.
So they can bring in the Purple Dragons. They can even bring in, since they brought in certain aspects. Like, I mean, they brought in fucking the robot. Let's just say the robot. They brought in the robot.
Yeah.
We're good, right? We all know, right? They brought in the robot, but when they bring in that robot, he ties them into outer space adventures.
Right. You got neutrinos and
thank you,
triceratons and rock soldiers. You can bring Krang in now. Like, you could.
There you
go. As we're talking, I'm realizing, oh yeah, we got so many more villains to play with if we want to. So many different stories we could tell.
Right. The roster is big.
Yeah.
They have a rogue gallery, so it's not that you can't find somebody. It's basically finding one or two characters, and basically building off them. Give them, go back and give them some canon to say that they were working on their side of the island versus this one. They weren't the top dog, but they were there. Now there's a void. Let me take over.
Where's the Rat King? Where's the Rat King?
Listen,
there's see, now you're thinking. So I want to ask you guys. We're gonna wrap this up soon, but we're gonna ask you two questions. I'm not cutting you off, Rob. I like where you're going, man, and that's what I'm saying. One, do you think that there's still a fan base? I mean, and I'm talking to you as a fan. If you were to walk by the comic book store and say, "Hey, here's another thing about the Last Ronin, Mikey's back," or these new turtles take on that role with Casey Marie, and they start fighting some of the other classic turtle villains, would you be interested to see that in that time frame?
Ooh, see, I don't know if I could make it as an ongoing.
Okay,
like I would like another mini series for sure. I don't want an ongoing series.
Fair. Right,
in that universe.
And I'm with you, because sometimes short and sweet is better than ongoing, because then you lose the magic or the flavor of it, right?
It like your DC and your Marvels, right? Like, these characters are always going, right? They have great stories, but it's never finalized.
Right, so you want small stories, finalize it, wrap the whole thing up, put a bow on it, we're good with it.
Yeah.
All right. What about yourself, Rod?
You know what? I would like it just something small, because I can't see us continuing without Michelangelo. If we're gonna go in the aspect that he did pass away, and then these new turtles are there, having them fight it's starting a whole fan base all over again. This is
version 2 reboot.
It literally would be like a reboot, and it'd be one of those things like, you know what? We may have to hold off. Just hold off for a while.
I don't need another reboot. I don't need another redo. Awesome.
I will say, it must have done fantastic numbers, though, because I'm sure you have seen that they're doing a video game. They're turning this into a video game.
Yes.
Right? They're taking... they announced it a couple months ago, but it's going to be like a God of War style, M-rated, dark video game. Yeah. So, I think it must have done very, very good numbers to at least want to milk this cow for some more money, right?
Seems like it. Come over, Betsy.
Well, look at it. The Turtles have always had a couple of things. They've had the comic book, they've had the live action, right? It parlays into toys. They've had the cartoons, and they've had video games. There's Turtle video games on Super Nintendo and different platforms. It's been a while since we've had a good video game from the Turtles, and especially how video games have advanced over the years. I mean, look, I got an Xbox S Series X or whatever, the one that stands like a cube. And the graphics on that now and what's happening, PS5, it's gonna be interesting. And you say it's like a God of War, more of a darker thing.
That's what
I know I'd pick it up.
Oh yeah.
I know I'd pick it up. I'd definitely get my mat on, as they would like to say, as Ralph would say. Time to get my mat on. I would definitely get my mat on. So with that said, with this whole thing, one, overall, were you happy with this 5-issue series beginning to end? I mean, obviously,
yes, very much. Like I said, I don't read the comics as much anymore, so it brought me back, and I was like, give me more Turtles, but I'm happy with what I got. It was very, very good, very good. Excellent. It was worth going back to, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
Okay, good. All right, and yourself, Rod, you happy with this whole?
Oh yeah, I'm definitely happy. I mean, it definitely give you that, reminiscing of what you knew, and basically we've now we made them older. They're not teenagers anymore. Now we have a full grown man who's been through life, struggles, got a job, lost a job, he's on the verge of losing his rent, losing his house, he ain't got no rent money, car's broken down, the truck's broken, his mechanic, Donnie ain't here. He's like, can you fix this thing? I don't know about that for you, bro. It's gonna cost X amount. I got no money. He's confident. He understands struggle. Yeah.
It's struggle.
He understands struggle. So this is what I like. I like seeing that we aged them up. We adult him up. That's all it was. And I love it.
All right. See, and I turn around, I'm with you. I like the whole aspect of that, everything going on there. Loved it. It left me wanting more. And, you mentioned the video game, and here's my last question for all of you before we wrap this up. Would you want to see this on a screen? Would you want to see this adapted on a screen? And what, be it if it's a movie on demand, would you see it as a cartoon, a mature cartoon, a regular cartoon, a live action? Rob, you're our guest here, so we will ask you that first. I will put that in your lap.
I'm leaning towards a live action mini series. Give me like a dark and gritty, like first season of like Daredevil.
Yes,
kind of
okay.
like Watchmen, like that kind of show. I want, just very dark, and I want you to feel what like Mikey went through, right? I think it needs to be a mini series to get that across.
Got it. So you're doing live action miniseries, like streaming service, like Daredevil was. A couple of
no Michael Bay live.
No. We don't need our turtles. Our turtles are not tortoises. They're not supposed to be 8 to 9, 10 feet tall. No. My turtle does not. It fits inside of a van. It doesn't go through a Hummer when it falls. No, got you. Okay.
Get my costumes back.
Yeah, exactly. Ernie Reyes Jr., he's still around as a martial artist, and he was one of the martial artists that was in that movie. Not Corey Feldman. He's gonna want too much money, or is it Corey Haim? One of them, the Corey's still alive, and he's just weird.
Feldman, yeah.
Yeah, Feldman. All right, he's just weird. No, okay, yeah, no. But I'm with you. Okay, got it. So you want like Daredevil on Netflix kind of thing. You want a dark, gritty series like that.
Yeah. Ground level,
adapted that way. See, you get the concept of the show. Awesome. Rod, same question to you. How you would adapt this?
You know what? I like what Rob is saying about a live one, but I actually wanted anime. I wanted at least keep it in. Like I said, this is adult version to what we already accustomed to. Mm-hmm. We've done the black and white. We've done the comic books, and all of this Last Ronin is the adult version to that. The next piece of media that everybody knows, although the live is there, is a cartoon. I think we would get a lot more visual aspects off of visual. Visual. I would like like an Adult Swim, an adult type of like a Deadpool type of something that's like saying any moment now I'm going to see blood. Someone's going to get hurt real bad today, and we're going to do like Mortal Kombat. When someone gets hit, you get hit, and then you got the instant frame. into their lungs, collapse. Oh God, that hurt. Yeah, that must have hurt. So I want to be able to say we're at a very heavy stage with Michelangelo. We want to see the struggles, the pains, what is he's going through, what he's putting people through. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm going from that aspect.
I like the ultraviolet anime.
It's yes. We're at that point. I think it has to be. That's what I'm saying. Like they basically gave us this template, this Last Ronin. This is an adult version, like full ultra, not violent, but it's like, whoo, or like one meter less than just calling it like, oh, this is gonna get banned. It's like they're allowed 75 kicks to the head per se, 75 to the chest. We're giving 74, 73, 74. We're being nice, people. We're right there, but you can't mark us. Count it. 74. Done. Stop. Just rub his face for the rest of the movie, if anything. We'll change it up.
I get both sides, and I you know what, and it's hard for me to decide. Usually I should be the tiebreaker. I'm not going to be the tiebreaker. This one, it's the fans who are watching and listening will be the tiebreaker. I get it. So Rod, I know with you, Rob, I get it. You want to do it like the Daredevil, the Punisher, Netflix kind of series. That's dark enough. That's got that grit, that action, and get that feel to it, that noir feel to it. And with Rod, I get you where you're saying anime, and I think you're right. The Mortal Kombat cartoon that came out with Scorpion, that portrayed the violence. And I think a good mature cartoon would have been the Dark Knight Return Part 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Right. So you got to get something like that along those lines. I think either medium works out well. The only thing I would add is, regardless if it's live, like you're saying, Rob, or anime, as you're saying, Rod. I know this is Rob and Rod. This is
right.
is they have to do. All I would say is, no matter what medium they would choose, give me the Easter eggs. Bring back certain characters to do the voices. Bring back certain things, and not just Easter eggs that are already in the comic book. I'm talking Easter eggs to add to the genre. So bring back, if it's live, Ernie Reyes Jr. Let him have a walk-on. Let him do something. He's still teaching martial arts and UFC fighters up to now. I follow him on Instagram. And, so give me that aspect. Let Eastman and Lard do some of the animation and story plotting. And maybe throw something of them in there, in the background, and having them walking by, and you're like, oh, geez, like how John Bryan used to draw himself into comic book scenes.
Well, they were in the comics, right? Did you catch that? They drew.
No, I missed it.
The book. Yeah, they are in the book. There's one character called Eastman. There's two characters talking. Yeah,
I gotta go back and read it again. I missed that. That, as I said, I love doing the show, but there's times that things go over my head, so I admit that. But see, those are the Easter eggs. So that's what I'm saying. These are the Easter eggs that I want to see put up there. Now, Rob, I know you do comedy like myself.
Yep.
Where can people find you, locate you on social media or whatever? Give us the details, man.
Sure. I am at RobbieD17 on everything. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I had that as my gamer tag. I made sure that was my thing. I got it all. Nice. It's all mine.
RobbieD17. Got it.
Yeah, and then I host a monthly show down at Hudson Public in Brantford.
Sweet.
Last Wednesday of every month. Yeah. So
okay. And so you do a monthly show, Brantford, come and check it out. So you always put that on all your social media.
All my social media, yeah. And then
let me clear my throat.
Yeah, then all over the Hamilton, Niagara. I'm always driving around everywhere.
Poor Rob, he's trying to talk and he's coughing at the same time. You know what? As a comedian, you're always using your voice. Sometimes it gets away from you. I hear you, man. I'm there some days. I'm like, hey. And some days I'm like, how's it going? Don't worry about it. This is the fun of the show.
Bad timing.
That's awesome. So I'm going to definitely put those links down below. We'll put that in your name there so people can see. We'll add your details below. Thank you so much for coming on to this show. Rod, any last words before we wrap this up?
You know what? First off, thank you, Rob, for being with us today. We appreciate your presence. We appreciate, your valuable input. Listen, the doors are always open, man. Feel free whenever listen, when you finish checking, Lost Years. Sure. That's part 2. That's already a given.
That's already a given, man.
So
absolutely. We always extend this invitation. We just don't do it on camera. We sincerely mean it. So, you finished Lost Years. You want to talk about that? Let's have you back on. You want to talk some wrestling?
That's what I was going to say. We didn't even get to touch on wrestling. So
no, we go and we've done a couple of episodes on wrestling already. We've talked about, Vinnie Mac as the character, not, Vince McMahon, Vinnie Mac as the character. We've did our AEW warm up roundup one time. And we've always mentioned comments here, but we've done shows on wrestling. So we will have you on that wrestling show, bring you back either with Paul or by yourself or with Chris Jarvie.
Yeah.
And we know AEW is coming up in a couple of, very shortly in a couple of weeks. Shortly. I think this episode's out in June. They're coming up in June. So, right. We will do a follow-up on our AEW adventures. There we go.
Yeah.
You are always welcome on this show. Thank you so much for tuning in, joining us tonight.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Our pleasure. Absolutely our pleasure. It's first, but always there. And on that, thank you all for watching and listening. This is the Iconist Podcast. And as I always say, this whole world was started by a pencil, a piece of paper, and lots of imagination. Keep on dreaming. Route!
Mikey! Oh, Mikey! I don't know!
You want to impress me, Rod? Do that on the skateboard. All right. Yes, I'm wearing orange for Michelangelo. All right, here we go. I'm out.
Oh!